All right. Hello, everybody. It is test week. I am sure we are all excited about it, but I want to make a little video just kind of explaining what's going on. So the test is on Canvas, not MyOpenMath. So it's going to be formatted a little bit different. I think it's clear enough and we should be able to do all right. The test is split into two parts because some students in the class have 50-minute periods and some people have block schedule. So the people that have, an hour and a half class can both or take both parts in the same session. And then the people who are only in class for about an hour can take part one and part two. They say 50 minutes each, but you're not going to need that much time. So hopefully that makes sense. This test should be taken with your high school instructor. Please be very clear about that. If you're sick on that day or something's gone wrong or you're absent for some weird reason, you need to email me and then schedule some other time to take it with your high school instructor. If there's a reported test taken that is not proctored by the instructor, you will likely receive a 0 on the test. So please just make sure you're in class. They're password protected, so you shouldn't even be getting the password unless you're in class. Yeah. And I say here, if you're going to miss class that day, I need an email so we can find a new time for you to take it. And again, if I don't get an email and you just miss the day, you're also risking a 0 on the exam. So just be clear and communicate, and it's fine. There are many of you who have already emailed me, and it is perfectly fine. I've not emailed you back yet, but I will soon, and shouldn't be any issues. You are allowed a little note card. There's kind of a lot on this test, so just make sure it's handwritten, no typed. 3x5 note card. You can write whatever you want on either side. So yeah. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is kind of go topic by topic and remind us what's going to be on the exam. So chapter 1 and 2 kind of really flowed in and out of each other. The way this book is organized is a little bit sloppy, so I combined chapter 1 and 2. So we should know statistic versus parameter. I'm going to set up the situation and you will need, it's multiple choice style question. Be able to pick the right one. And also alongside that would be population versus sample. But we'll go in order. I apologize for that. So yeah, statistic versus parameter. Sampling types, another multiple choice style question, simple random sample, cluster. Oh boy. Simple random sample, cluster, stratified, convenience, things like that. Be able to identify the situation. I'd give you something like just like what we've seen in the notes or in the homework, you'll be given a random sampling method and then just make sure to choose the right one. Variable types, you'll see, qualitative, quantitative, discrete, continuous, nominal, ordinal. Multiple choice question right there. Observational study versus experiment. Another multiple choice style question, just A or B kind of thing. Response and explanatory variable. Just be able to identify in the problem which thing is causing this other thing or what they're claiming is causing, right? We don't know if it's actually causing, but this first item variable is causing this second item variable, so they claim. Bias on this test, it's a fill in the blank question. Just, there'll be a problem. There's definitely going to be bias in it. And then just tell me why it's bias. I don't need you to label this type of bias like self-interest bias or this bias or that bias. Just say why it's bias. Hey, we didn't ask these people. Maybe we should. Hey, this questioning seems a little bit odd. Maybe we should, or the wording of the question is a little bit odd. Maybe we should fix that wording. Things like that, not overcomplicated. Population versus sample, just be able to identify what's the population and what the sample. Remember, the population often has descriptor words with it, so just be ready for that. Bar chart versus histogram, that's actually not going to be there. Don't worry about that. Relative frequency, you'll be given some raw data. you'll need to calculate the frequency and the relative frequency. So it should really be relative frequency distribution, what we're thinking about there. I asked you a couple times about the shape, I think twice, just is it skewed left, skewed right, bell-shaped? You can draw the histogram on your calculator, or do whatever you have to do. Look at the box plot, you can check the shape. Then some calculations, I'll ask you to find the mean, find the median, find the standard deviation. Be careful with the standard deviation, right? It needs to be either sigma or S. So read the problem, look for context clues. Empirical rule, that's that 68, 95, 99.7 rule. Be able to draw a bell curve and, pick the percentages. Make sure not to use advanced techniques. I know some of you might have learned how to use normal CDF. Don't use that on this test. We should just be sticking to drawing our bell curve and approximating with the empirical rule. And a side note, if your instructor asks, feel free to have a blank piece of scratch paper somewhere there. Okay, next up, we will find the quartiles, the upper and lower outlier boundaries, and ultimately find if there are outliers. Right, that's what those boundaries are for, to check for outliers. We might have called them upper and lower fences in the videos, but that's that, 1.5 times IQR. So that's a formula that should be somewhere on the note card. Go ahead and look in your notes and find that. And the Z-score. Be able to compare things relatively. So I know that's a lot, and it'll be spread over the 2 days. So it's not like one day is focused on one thing. Just be ready for it on both. Or on both parts. And then we have chapter 12. So there's not as many chapter 12 questions, and that's just because they take longer to do. It's more data entry in your calculator. But one thing we're gonna do is the correlation coefficient, find that R and interpret it. It'll be kind of a preset sentence that you'll just fill in the blanks for. Find the regression line. So find that y hat equals ax plus b. Not overly complicated. We're not interpreting y-intercept on this exam. We're just interpreting slope. Be able to make predictions with that regression line. There's a small question on extrapolation. I'll ask you, can you make this prediction? Not make the prediction. Can you make this prediction? And it'll be, hey, no, because the number's too far away. We have to be careful with extrapolation. Or, yeah, it's kind of right there. I wouldn't worry about it. And then, is the linear model appropriate? Remember, we know this by checking the residual plot. So check that in notes. That was a lot of what 12.6 was. But yeah, that's the exam. If there's any questions, please send me an email. We can discuss it. I think this exam's pretty straightforward. For future exams, I might have some extra office hours during the week set up. But yeah, another thing with this exam before I let you go is if there's weird rounding or you think you got the right answer, but you misentered it and the Canvas is not reading it right, screenshot it, send me a picture. Or just send me an email with what number it is, and then I'll come fix it on my side. It's going to take me a little while to do that since there's so many people taking it at different times. So just be patient, but I will get around to fixing those scores. But other than that, good luck. I believe we're all going to do great on this first test, and you'll see me the week after with some new material. Have a good one.